next movie I want to talk about is Downsizing, the 2017 movie Downsizing. Matt Damon. You can pull up that image whenever. You didn't like it? Okay. I was pleasantly surprised with this movie. It certainly didn't go anywhere I expected it to go. That's for sure. So Downsizing is a story about people. How to put it? I'm spitting up my cough drop. You can pull up that image when you get a chance. Okay. So basically, PIM tech goes worldwide. Shrinking technology becomes available to everyone, which I don't think would ever happen.
Which image is this?
The Downsizing image.
It doesn't appear.
It's not in there. No, shoot. Look at the last week's notes, if you can. There might be an image in there for Downsizing. My bad. All right, but PIM tech goes worldwide, and I just don't think people, whoever invents the shrinking is not going to make it publicly available to the world. That's just not the way that's not the way inventions work. All right, nobody invents the most brilliant, the perfect widget and gives it away for free. All right, it's like that movie The Saint, where it's like, I invented cold fusion and I'm going to give it to the world for free. That would never, ever happen. People are selfish. People are greedy. It's just not what would happen. And because you're downsizing, because people are shrinking, you can live on money for longer. Because when you eat a cheeseburger when you're 6 inches tall, you're eating way less cheese and burger. So people will downsize in order to save money. And when you downsize, you can live like in luxury in your little huge dollhouse. And that's what they do. People buy doll houses and they live on them. And they have these communities that are protected by domes because, you could be, snatched up by an eagle, eaten by a mole, by a snake. And this is why I don't think people would do it. All right. And so I watched this movie thinking that it's going to be something like that. It's going to be Matt Damon being chased around by a cat or something like that. And I thought that would be kind of a hilarious movie. Huh. But this movie didn't go anywhere I thought it was going. So he and his wife decided to downsize, Kristen Wiig, to save money, maybe live a little bit higher on the hog as a little tiny person. And during the process, she gets cold feet and backs out, and he gets shrunk, and she ends up divorcing him. And so he's now broke in the little people world, and he's got to get a regular job. All right. And back before, when he was a big person, he was the occupational therapist. He would go around, people would like, I get repetitive stress from always pulling this lever, And so he went to like 2 years of medical school. So he has some medical knowledge. And so he was doing something that he liked. And then he ended up being like a telemarketer when he got down to the little people area. And he's trying to date. He's having a hard time. He got divorced, And everyone else is living high on the hog, and he has this hilarious neighbor who is like barely a good person, like just on the edge of good person. But he's an obnoxious dick every other time, all the other times, right? What was his name? Guston or something like that? Bouchon, that's it, Bouchon. Played by, what's his name? Christoph Waltz. Fantastic in everything he does. But Matt Damon, he ends up running into this Vietnamese girl who has like a prosthetic leg, and he sees how she's walking on it, and it's like, that just by looking at it, I know that's a problem. So he goes and like tries to help her, tries to fix her, adjust her foot so she doesn't get things don't get worse for her. And then just by like talking to her, she's an interesting character as well. She speaks in broken English, but she's very matter of fact. Like, my roommate died. It happened. My roommate died. I go on. I go work. It's very matter of fact. She's kind of a funny character. But he ends up like helping her as she goes around collecting food from people that everyone's throwing out. She takes them to this like the ghetto of the downsized world and like gives it to like people who are can't walk. She's helping people in her neighborhood. She's got like 1 foot herself, helping other people. And Matt Damon, because he has some medical knowledge, he comes down there and there's people who need medical attention, and he has enough knowledge that he can provide some sort of treatment for them. And he starts getting into doing that. And then then you're like, oh, okay, this movie has kind of an interesting turn. I like where it's going. Then all of a sudden, hard left turn, and you're going into like some Swedish cult of downsized people who want to go underground for the next 3,000 years or something like that, because they think the world's coming to an end. And Matt Damon wants to go in with them. And you're like, where did this plot line come out of? Was there an argument in the writer's room where they're like, oh, I want it to be about this plot line? And I don't want to be. Why can't it be both, fellas? Why can't it be both? And then they leave this cult. They eventually talk Matt Damon out of not going, right? And they go back home, and he goes about like helping feed and medically treat these people in the poor side of this rich area, this rich little people place, and finding enjoyment in the simple pleasures of life of helping others. And I think that was kind of what the point of the movie was getting at, is that, a life lived for others is the best possible life to live.
The best way to downsize is stop living for yourself.
Best way to downsize is to start living for yourself. Stop living for yourself. Yeah. And I think that's wise. The movie is kind of silly. I kept waiting for a cat to like come out and just snatch somebody up. It's always, it should have happened. If I had written that movie, that would have happened at least once. Like a vole burrows his way into the community, like goes on a rampage. Going from mansion to mansion, dollhouse to dollhouse, eating people out of jacuzzis. That would have been a way better movie. Why didn't you let me write this? Why don't you come to me, Hollywood? Let me fix everything for you. But Downsizing, 9 of 13 stars. Yeah, not many people would give up the power of going from a big person to a little person, because when you're like this tall, you are incredibly weak. All right, if you go to the gym, you can't be proud about, it's like I was benching 14 ounces. Yeah, maxed out at 14 ounces. You're just more powerful as a big person. People won't willingly shrink. Doesn't make sense. I think that's why this movie was panned. A lot of people didn't like it. I thought the message was good. I thought it was a really weird way to go about getting that message out there, but yeah, 9 of 13 stars.